Good afternoon. Let us start off with uh, the next class in convolutional codes of module 5. The outcomes of this class. At the end of this class, you would be able to write the state diagram and trellis. We have already learned state diagram, state transition table, and the code tree. Today we'll be talking about how to write the trellis and then how to decode a convolutional code based on this trellis, known as a most popular method using Viterbi algorithm. Yeah, to use Viterbi algorithm to decode the convolutional code. What is a trellis? The tree-like graph, the code tree which we have, can be written or drawn in a new form known as the trellis. It is called so because it is also a tree-like structure with re-emerging branches. The name trellis indicates a tree-like structure with re-emerging branches. You'll see what is the meaning of this re-emerging branches. So usually what happens, this trellis contains L plus M plus 1 time units or levels. We also call it as the depth of the trellis, and they are labeled from 0 to L plus M. Okay, so if we have L as 5, okay, if we use L, the number of input data bits as 5, then and M as 2, then totally we'll have 5 plus 2, that is 7, and the trellis diagram time states will be named from 0 to 7. And the convention you should understand, very important, the convention which we use in drawing the trellis is a code branch produced by an input 0 is drawn as a solid line, and see here, a code branch produced by an input 0 is drawn as a solid line, while that produced by an input 1 is shown by dashed lines. That's how we are going to draw the trellis. Please remember, whenever an input bit is 0 and the code generated by it we want to show, the branch is drawn as a solid line, and the branch which is to show an input 1 is shown as a dotted line or dashed line. So the code words produced by the transitions are also indicated on the diagram. Just like code tree, we are also going to write the code words which are produced by each transition. Each input sequence corresponds to one specific path through the trellis. Yeah, we can see an example encoder circuit here. This, as you can see, is a 2, 1, 2 encoder. 2 bits in the code output, 2 modulo 2 adders, both represent this value n, and 1 input bit at a time k, and 2 flip-flops in the memory shift register, which is also m. So it is a 2, 1, 2 convolutional encoder. And the same thing we had already considered when we took up the state diagram. So here I am directly considering its state diagram because this will help us in drawing this trellis. In order to draw the trellis, we either need the state transition table or the state diagram. One among the two is necessary for us to be able to draw this trellis because we need to know the code words for each transition, say from state 0 to state 1, if there is a transition, what was the input bit which was there and what is the corresponding code word. We need to know that. So we have considered the state diagram for the given encoder, and let's consider the input sequence. Anyway, before that, first let's draw the trellis. So what is the idea of drawing the trellis? The trellis is already drawn here and shown. First thing, we'll consider the total number of states. Remember, with 2 bits, we can have 4 states. As shown in the state diagram, we have 4 states, S0, S1, S2, S3. Okay, all the 4 states should be taken one below the other, and you draw straight lines corresponding to each. As I told you, we start off with 0, the time as 0, then 1, then 2 till 7. We said since we have a 5-bit input, we'll consider the timing from 0 to 7. Okay. Now, at the 0th instant, these are the 4 states which are there, or let's say we always start off with state S0, the all 0 state. Remember, always convolutional encoder will be in the all 0 state, and we always start with this state. Okay, so if this is the starting state, you are in state S0 and you receive a 0, you continue to remain in S0. You go back to state S0. It's a self loop. So remember what is the condition to draw the trellis? If we receive a 0, it should be a solid line. So it is this line representing a 0. And since it remains in the same state, it will be on the same line. It continues to remain in state S0. So S0 is always on this line, S1 is on this line. It's like that. Now, what are the code bits output in the process? 0, 0. The code bits output in the process are 0, 0. Similarly, you are in state S0 and you receive a 1. So the next bit received was a 1. Then you're moving to state S1. So whenever you receive a 1, it should be a dotted line. You can see this dotted line is there, or the dashed line, whatever you want you can call. And it moves from state S0 to S1. See, we have reached state S1 at time T1, 1. Okay. And what is the code bits which are output in the process? 1, 1. The code bits output are 1, 1. Now, this completes our beginning. From S0, I can move either to state S0 itself or S1. Only 2 transitions. Because you can either receive an input 0 or 1, 2 bits. Now, you are again the same thing repeats. From state S0, if I get a 0, I'll continue to remain in S0. I'll draw a solid line there and the code output is 0, 0. And from S0, when I receive a 1, I go to state S1 and the code output is 1, 1. It's a repetition. Every time you see from this state S0, it's always the same two states which are generated. Continuously throughout the trellis, it is going to repeat. But now this part we should analyze. We are in state S1. So this was state S0. We are in state S1 here. And from S1, if you receive a 0, you look at the state diagram, you are in S1 and you receive a 0. Where are you going? We are going to state S2. So from S1, if we receive a 0, we go to state S2, solid line. Input bit received is 0, it's a solid line. It's a 1, it is a dashed line. And the code bits output are written on the branch. What are the code bits? 1, 0 is written on the branch. Similarly, you are in state S1 and you receive a 1. You're going to state S3. So from S1, we move to state S3 whenever a 1 is received. So it's a dashed line and the code bits output are 0, 1. So the code bits output are 0, 1. So now we have arrived at all the 4 states and now state S0 and S1 will be a repetition. So from S0, you can either remain in S0 or go to S1. From S1, you either go to S2 when you receive a 0 or you go to S3 when you receive a 1. Now we should analyze what happens when we are in state S2 and S3. You are in state S2 as you can see here and you receive a 0. You will be moving to state S0 here. You receive a 0 when you are in S2. See, you are in S2, you receive a 0. You go to state S0, solid line. The code bits output are 1, 1, which is written along the branch. Similarly, you are in state S2 and you receive a 1. You move to state S1. Here we are moving to the top again. We are in S2 and we receive a 1. We move to state S1. It's a dashed line. The code bits output are 0, 0. It's written here 0, 0. So we saw what happens from S2. Let's see what happens from S3. You are in state S3 and you receive a 0. you go to S2. You are in S3 and you receive a 0, you go to S2, solid line. The code bits output are 0, 1. 0, 1 are the code bits. You are in S3 and you receive a 1, you remain in the same state, self loop, and the code bits output are 1, 0. You are in S3 and you receive a 1, you remain in the same state. It's a dashed line because it's a 1 that is received, and the code bits output are written along the branch, 1, 0. Now, once we have done it for all the 4 states once, from here onwards, this will be repetitive. Whatever we got here, what you get here will be same as this. What you get here will be same. How many, you can repeat this for how many ever time periods you want. So it's going to turn out to be repetitive. You observe one dash line here, one dotted line. Again, whatever we have in this time and instant, it will keep repeating. Okay. So only till you get all the 4 states analyzed once, it will take time. After that, it is just repetitive. You can go on extending it for however long you want. Usually we said to find the complete code word. Say in this case, I told you when we have a 5-bit message 10011, the L value is 5, and already we know there are 2 flip-flops, so M value is 2. So starting with state 0, I should have from 0 to 7 states or time instants listed. You should draw this for so many time instants as shown in this diagram. So now using this diagram, let us try to encode the sequence. I told you all these diagrams can be used to encode or decode. So using this, let's try to encode the sequence 10011. So the first bit is 1. Starting from state S0, you have to move downwards. Let me choose a different color. Okay. Okay. Starting with state S0, I have to come along this line, and the code bits output will be 1, 1. So for the first bit taken in, the code is, so this is input, this is the code, 1, 1 I'm going to get. The second bit going in is 0. So from here you get a 0, you're coming here. From here, whenever you get a 0, you're going to come here. And what are the code bits output in the process? 1, 0. The code bits output are 1, 0. Again, the third input bit is also a 0. So from here, 0 means you have to follow the solid lines. From here, I have to go back here, right? Because it's a 0 which I'm receiving, go back here. And what are the code bits output? It is 1, 1 corresponding to this. And again, later, you have the next bit as a 1. So this bit is a 1. That means you should follow this dashed line from here. Come back from state S0, we received a 1. So come back here. And what is the code output? 1, 1. 1, 1. And the next input bit is also a 1. You see here, the next input bit is a 1. And when it is a 1, I have to follow the dashed line from here. And I'll reach S3. And what is the code bit output? 0, 1. The code bit output in this process is 0, 1. But remember, here we have come only up to time state 5. We can't stop here. For every convolutional code, our aim is we have to flush the flip-flops. The memory state should become 0 in the end of the code. So even if the input bits are over, I'll add 2 more zeros so that when I feed in the zeros, it should, whenever you feed in the zeros, it should enter and finally reach state S0, the same state where we started off with. So here we are Next, if 0 is the input, I'll move along this solid line. I'll reach state S2. And what is the code output? 0, 1 again. And finally, another last 0. So from here, we move back to state S0. You observe, and the code bits output are 1, 1. So this completes our encoding. For this 5-bit input, the encoding operation using the trellis requires all these steps. The same thing is represented here. Wherever we have ones, dotted line, wherever we have zeros, solid line, you observe the same thing is shown. A single path is traced. Whatever I've drawn in blue here is traced separately in this graph. This is how we draw a trellis, and this is how we encode a given data as a convolutional code using this trellis diagram. Okay. Finally, let's see how to terminate the trellis. When the entire sequence M has been encoded, as I told you, the encoder must return to the starting state. This can be done by appending M zeros to the message sequence. So here M value was 2. We took 2 zeros appended to the message sequence. Whenever the first 0 is shifted into the encoder register, then there will be 2 power M minus 1 states. When second 0 is shifted, 2 power M minus 2. And when the mth 0 is shifted, all the shift register contents will become 0. And at this instant, the trellis converges to a single vertex, S0. I told you it will come back to its starting point. We started with S0. Wherever it moves through the trellis, it should end back in S0 only. So it will come back to its starting state. And the number of 0 states during termination will be reduced by half because 0 is shifted into encoder anyway. And just trying to analyze this, trellis is more instructive than code tree because the finite state behavior of the encoder is correctly brought out in this. So how the encoder behaves is completely brought out in the trellis, because assuming that the encoder always starts in state S0 and returns to state S0, the first M time units, okay, that is let's say the number of flip-flops, so many M time units or levels or depths, whatever you call, they correspond to the encoder's departure from S0. Okay, and the last M levels correspond to the encoder's what? Encoders, let's say, return to S0. It will go and collide with S0. It will join S0. Clearly, all the states, not all the states can be reached in these two portions of the trellis. When it is diverging from S0, it will take some M states or M time units to reach all the states. And when it is going back, converging to S0, again it will go. All states cannot be reached there. But the center portion of the trellis, if I look, all states are possible at each level. Every time unit contains a replica of the state diagram as shown. See, this state diagram, what we are seeing here, right? From S0, if you receive a 0, continue to remain in S0. Receive a 1, go to S2. From S1, which are the two states you'll go to. From S3 and S2, which one? So likewise, this portion repeats in the center. So there are always two branches leaving and entering each state. If you see, from S0, two branches are leaving and two branches are entering S0. This is constant in the middle of the trellis diagram. Okay. So in the general case of NKM code and information sequence of length KL, there are 2 par K branches leaving and entering each state, and 2 par K into L distinct paths through the trellis corresponding to 2 par KL code words. Now let's move on to decoding of convolution codes using the maximum likelihood detection. So let's try to analyze how to decode convolutional codes using maximum likelihood decoder. If at all the input sequence messages are equally likely, all messages are randomly occurring, and all the messages are equally likely. There is no bias that ones are more or zeros or less anything. The optimum decoder, which minimizes the probability of error, is known as maximum likelihood decoder. Maximum likelihood decoding means finding the code branch in the code trellis which would have been the most likely to be transmitted. Remember, there are so many branches we discussed in the trellis, 2 branches coming out of each node, and 4 nodes if I have, there will be 8 branches, leaving 8 branches entering the same states. Now, finding the most appropriate branch which matches with the received vector is the idea of maximum likelihood decoding. So, maximum likelihood decoding is based on measuring the distance between the received code vector and the branch code vector using the Hamming distance, okay, for hard decision decoding. Or if we have soft decision decoders, there we are going to use Euclidean distance decoders. Okay, we have hard decision and soft decision. In hard decision, it is basically the Hamming distance which we are going to use. Therefore, the probability to decode a sequence, it's then given as probability of y comma x is the product of probability of yj given xj for j varying from 0 to infinity. In the sense, the probability of getting a given bit yj when a given bit xj was transmitted. Okay, and if I have multiple such bits along the multiple such branches along the path, all that should be multiplied. This is how we are going. Y is the received sequence, X is the transmitted sequence. Okay. Now let's move on to the Viterbi algorithm. The Viterbi algorithm performs maximum likelihood decoding, but it reduces the computational complexity by taking advantage of special structure of the code trellis. So here, because of the structure of trellis, we are able to apply Viterbi decoding exclusively for achieving maximum likelihood detection in convolutional codes. As we know, it was first introduced by A. Viterbi in 1967, and it was recognized first by D. Forney in 1973 that it is a maximum likelihood detection algorithm for convolutional code. So this is the most commonly employed decoding technique, which can either be implemented easily in hardware or software. It uses the trellis diagram as we know, and it can theoretically perform maximum likelihood decoding. It finds the most likely path through the trellis by means of using suitable distance metrics between the received sequence and all the trellis path. So it was going to find the Hamming distance between the received vector and each of the trellis path, and it will arrive at the minimum distance. Minimum distance means maximum likelihood. So wherever there is minimum Hamming distance between the received vector and the trellis path, that would give us maximum likelihood decoding. As I was telling you, there are 2 types of Viterbi decoders, hard decision Viterbi and soft decision Viterbi. In hard decision Viterbi decoding, the received voltage levels are first converted to digital bits. Okay, they are digitized bit sequence initially itself, and then the algorithm is applied. We are going to apply the Viterbi algorithm after digitizing the received bit sequence. So because early decisions are taken here, initially itself we take decisions as to what they are. This is more prone to error. So this is shown in this diagram. Anyway, you will not get it clearly here. What is soft decision decoder? Here, the algorithm is applied directly on received voltage levels. We'll not say this received voltage level may be a 1 or 0. We'll not even decode it to one of the levels. We are going to apply it directly on the voltage levels. And as we proceed further in our decision making and through the trellis, we can, every time we find the distance is exceeding some limit and there is another minimum distance path, we'll go back and make a change in the earlier decisions. Like any earlier decisions are not hard and fast or fixed rules. But in hard decision, once you make a decision, you have to move forward. You can't go backward. So here you go back and change the decision which you made earlier, and decisions based on the new outcome, right? The new shortest path which you get, based on that you change the decisions. So here errors can be minimized and they are normally implemented through software programs. So the Viterbi algorithm needs, it can be either hard decision or soft decision type. Soft decision is less prone to error and it can be easily implemented in software. Here, the chances of detecting and correcting errors are higher. So let's see what are the two important metrics which we need for computation. First one is known as the branch metric unit or BMU. They are computed from the input data. I'll show you the definition of BMU. And then we have ACSU, where the second unit is path metric unit. We haven't written it here. After branch metric unit, the second one is path metric unit. This unit is computed by considering multiple paths taken to a given node. So I have two paths reaching a node in general. Then I'll take the lowest weight among the two paths. Whichever path has the least distance, that path is considered. Okay, ACSU stands for add, compare, select units. So this is add, compare, and select units. And they store the path metrics by updating at each of the nodes. And they follow the equation given here. And SMU stand for survivor path memory units. Okay, which path, out of two paths reaching a node, only one path survives. The path with the least distance will survive. And what is the equation used for computation? It can be written either in this form or one more form I'll show you. The path metric for state I at time t plus 1 can be written as the minimum of the path metric corresponding to state k at instant t plus the branch metric for the transition from state k to state I at time from time t to t plus 1. I think you'll be able to understand this clearly from the example when we consider the trellis. See, in the trellis, we'll be moving from one state to the other. So from here to here, if say this is S0, S1, there will be a branch metric. So what is that branch metric? I have received some code vector and this branch has, let's say, the code vector as this. What you receive is this. This branch has this code vector. What is the Hamming distance between 101 and 111? So the distance is 1. So the branch metric for this transition is 1. Now from here, say it moves back here and the next set of received vectors is this. And here I have 101 for example. Again, I have to compute the distance. This is D1 if I say distance D2 from 101 to 110, the received bits and the branch code bits. Okay, what's the distance here? First bit is same, second bit and third bit are different. So the distance will be 2. So from here to here, the distance is 2. So this is your branch metric, and if I consider the path from here to here completely, I should take there can be a path coming from here to here, and this that can have the value 0. This will have the value 1 plus 2, 3. I'll compare both the paths. Okay, this path is having the least distance 0. You can retain this path and remove the other path which has a higher distance vector. This is how we do it. I'll come back to it when we discuss. So branch metric unit, as I told you, is a measure of distance between the transmitted and received bits, and it is defined for each branch or arc in the trellis. In short, BMU is the Hamming distance between the expected and the received code bits. Okay. The path metric unit is a value associated with a particular node or state in the trellis. So every node or state can have a path metric unit, and it represents the Hamming distance of the most likely path from initial state to the current state, measured over all possible paths between the two states. Like I showed you, there can be a path like this from here to here. There can be a path like this. There can be another path like this. For all possible paths you consider and find the smallest. This path has a distance 0, this has 3, this has 4. So you're going to consider retain the least one and discard the other two higher distance path. So this is about path metric unit. How do we compute the path metric? As shown, the path metric from state S at a time state I plus 1 is minimum of the path metric from state L at time I plus branch metric from state L to S. It's the same equation which we wrote before, only it's written in a different form. Or the option is the path metric from B to I. So if I consider one state as S, okay, S, and this as L. So the path from here to here can be L to S is 1, and it can go through, or let's say A. Via L it can go through S, or via B it can go to S. So I can consider it via different nodes. That's what we are telling. And whichever gives the minimum, we consider the minimum code or the minimum distance path ending up in this node, and the other one will be discarded. Among two paths or three paths reaching a node, only the one with the lowest distance or lowest weight when it reaches here would be considered. That is path metric unit. Okay. So what are the steps involved in Viterbi algorithm? The first thing is we calculate the branch metric by comparing the distance from the received code vector to the branch code vector. Every branch we would have represented a code vector. Then we will calculate the path metric by using the add, compare, select. We'll add the path metric to reach this particular node, and then the branch metric to go from this node to the next node. That's what we do. So it is add, compare, and select. So after addition, we compare the two path metrics, whichever is the least that we select. On reaching the end of the trellis, start from the best state. So you have a long trellis, okay, you have written 7 or 8 time units. So you have many paths ending up, okay, you have multiple paths, whatever you have. You can start with the best. This distance is 1, let me say, and this distance is 3, this is 4. So whichever is the lowest, we start from that path and we trace back. We'll go on backwards and see what is the path which results in this unit, and that will tell us what were the supposed data bits which were transmitted. So as we move back by tracing the path, we'll get to know what are the bits which were sent. The same procedure is mentioned here. As always, we should start with state 0, 0, and at state 0, 0, the path metric will be written as 0. And for all other states, we write it as infinite initially. Then we'll calculate the branch metric for each of the branches by comparing the Hamming distance between received code vector and the codes mentioned along the branches. And this is normally done by adding the the branch metric unit to the PMU, path metric unit of the two branches, and then the states will start considering, leading to the current states. Okay. And finally, we retain only the lowest cost which has reached the current state. And in step 3, we discard the higher cost path after comparing the costs of the 2 or 3 paths arriving at the new state S. And then we are going to repeat steps 2 and step 3 for each pair of incoming received bits. And we will form a path with the least value in the end. So what are the advantages of Viterbi decoding? The major advantages of Viterbi decoding are, it gives you a very good bit error rate performance, high speed of operation, especially when implemented in hardware, ease of implementation, and low cost. All this makes Viterbi algorithm very popular. Now let's take an example for Viterbi decoding. Given the trellis diagram for rate 1/3, and let's assume the transmitted word is all zeros and the received word is this. So there have been errors induced. We are not receiving what we transmitted. There have been some errors. Now, this is the given trellis. The trellis for this encoder has already been given to us. And once we get all the 4 states, we said it will continue. It will go on continuing till infinite. It's going to be repetitive, right? So here the dashes and solid lines are not clearly visible. Now, what is the procedure? As we already studied, you divide the incoming stream into groups of 3. Why groups of 3? Because as we can see here, every branch has a 3-bit code output. So the incoming bits should be divided into groups of 3. 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1. I am getting 4 groups of 3. There are 4 states as shown, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. Find the Hamming distance between the first group and the 2 options at the first code and compute the branch metric. Take second group and continue with the second node. Find the total Hamming distance from the beginning till that point. It is known as path metric. And at any node, if 2 branches meet, you discard the branch with the higher path metric and continue like this. We'll see in this example. You see, the first group of received bits or the group of 3 was 0, 1, 0. Now I have 0, 1, 0 here. And what were the code vectors at this branch? This was 0, 0, 0 and 1, 1, 1. In the given trellis diagram, this code vector for this branch was given as all 0 and the code vector for this was given as all ones. Now what should you do? You should find the distance from the received bit 0, 1, 0 with this branch 0, 0, 0. That's what we are doing, 0, 0, 0 and 0, 1, 0. What is the Hamming distance? Just 1. There is a 1 bit change. So the branch metric here will become 1 for this branch. Okay. Similarly, for this branch, I'll find the distance between the received code bits 0, 1, 0 and the branch code here 1, 1, 1. Again, you can see there are 2 bits which are differing. So the branch metric becomes 2. For this second line, the branch metric is 2. Like this, we have to proceed. The second group now. in the first group we are done. The second group of received bits were all zeros. Again, you compare all zeros. This is received. Compare it with all zeros. That results in branch metric 0. Here I have all ones. All zeros compared with all ones. The branch metric will be 3. Right. And for these two branches, what is given, we can check. For these two branches, it is 0, 1, 1 and 1, 0, 0. So here it is 0, 1, 1, the code, and here it is 1, 0, 0. Next, you should compare 0, 1, 1 with 0, 0, 0. What is received is 0, 0, 0. You compare 0, 1, 1 with that. How many bits are differing? 2 bits are differing. Hence, we get the branch metric for this branch as 2. And next, we compare the received vector with this code vector 1, 0, 0. There is a difference only in 1 bit. So the Hamming distance here is 1. So we have computed the branch metrics of all these 4 branches for the second time state, where we have received 0, 0, 0. Then we'll proceed with the third time state, where we receive 1, 0, 0. I think this is the last what we receive. And what should I do? Here I'm receiving 1, 0, 0. This is the receive. Here the code value was 0, 0, 0. So what's the difference between this received and the code? 1. We already have. So if you want, you write this branch metric as 1. Okay. Or before that, we can do one thing. Since we have arrived till this point, we can calculate the path metric. See here. Wherever we have anyway, from here to here, the distance is 1. From here to here, the distance is 1 plus 3, 4, as you can see. This is called path metric. Since we have completed 2 time states, there is a short path formed. It's not a single branch. So it's a short path of 2 branches. I'll compute the path metric. Again, from here to here, it is 2 plus 2. Addition of the branch matrix, 4. And finally, from here to here, 2 plus 1, 3. So these are the path metrics. Okay. Now I can use this path metric with the next set of branch metrics in comparison. You see, that's what we'll do. The path metric is there. And when I compare this with all zeros, I have 1 as the branch metric. So 1 plus 1 path metric, least path metric here is 1 plus branch metric is 1. So this will give you the value 2. Okay. Likewise, 1, 0, 0 compared with 1, 1, 1. We know this is 1, 1, 1. There are 2 bit changes. So we have 1 here. 1 plus 2 will give us 3. See, there are 2 bit changes from here to this. And likewise, for each of the paths, if we identify, we'll get the changes. Say here that there are 2 bit changes, branch metric is 2. And here there is 1 bit change. So what happens here? This 4 plus 2 will give me a path of distance 6. Whereas in the same node, I have a path of distance 2 coming straight like this. So what do? We leave out this path, we retain only this path which has the least distance. Again, you can consider this node. There is one path coming with a distance 3 and the second path comes from here 4 plus 1, 5. So among these two, which should be considered? The least one. I should standardize this path and remove this. Again, in this point, 4 plus, what do I have here? 4 plus 1, 5. No, this is 4 plus 3, 8. This path is giving me a distance 8. That's why it's shown in light color. And the darkened one you see is the path coming here. This 2 plus 1, 3 plus 2, 5. I'm getting 5 along this path, 8 along this. So this path will be discarded. This 5 will be retained. So lastly, here 4 plus 0. There is a 4 here and this branch metric is 0. It results in 4. If I come along this path, it is 3 plus 1, 4. So you can retain either of the two. But when you look back, you see this path has already been neglected. It's not been finalized here itself. I don't have this path finalized. So I'll consider the path which has come till the previous point and finalize this path. So retain this and discard this. Okay, all the paths which are going to be retained are shown in solid lines. Those are thickened lines, and those which won't be retained are shown in thin lines. This is how we are going to find the survivors. Among two paths reaching a node, one would survive, the other would go off. So you see the survivor paths are written. Likewise, if some more data is received, we are going to continue tracing the survivor paths in each step. Here we have received only 9 bits of data and we computed. If we receive the next 3 bits, we'll go on to the next time state. So this is how we compute. There's one more example here. You can observe. The received message is 101 source message, and the code word to be transmitted is this, and the received code word is this. You see there is an error in these 2 bits. Okay. Now let's try to do the Viterbi encoding. When you do the Viterbi encoding, by comparing the bitwise received data with the branch-wise, you see this 11 what is received has what? 11 which is received will have a distance of 2 from this. You receive 11. What is the distance? The distance would be 2 here, and the distance would be 0 in this path based on the received code. If at all these are the branch values are 0, 0 and 1, 1. So I'm going to get 2 here and 0 here for the first set. Next is 1, 0, which we are going to receive here, 1, 0. When 1, 0 is compared with 0, 0, again you get a value as 1. The branch metric is 1. 2 plus 1, if I move along this path, at this node, the path metric is 3. Okay. And here 1, 0 differs from the code bits 1, 1 by how many? Just 1 unit. Correct. So already we have 2 here, plus 1, 2 plus 1, 3. Path metric at this node is 3. Likewise, you go on computing the path metric from each of the received vectors by comparing it with the branch metric. Every place you compare it with the code written along the branch and compute the distance. And in the end, you see when there are 2 paths leading to the same node, you retain the path having the least distance and discard the path having the longest. So when we do this here, it ends up like this. You can just scan through the example. These are the, you label all the branches with the branch metric. That's what is done. We have listed the branch metric based on the code values received. Code values compared with the branch code values. And once we list everywhere, we have listed. This is done in software. So I'm just showing you, but it could be easily done by hand also. After listing the branch metric, next we have to take list the path metric. You see here it is 0. At this node, the path metric is 0 plus 2, 2. At this node, it is 0 plus 0, 0. And here it is 2 plus 1, 3. Here it is 2 plus 1, 3. Here 0 plus 0, 0. And here 0 plus 2. Add the path metric to the branch metric to get the new path metric here. Now in the next state, when we come, you see, I think everything is shown. Yeah, 3, 3, 0, 2 for I is equal to 3. Then when I is equal to 4, here comes the point where we have to neglect one path and keep one path. So when you see along this, this becomes 3 plus 2, 5. Whereas the other path which is ending up here is coming from here. 0 plus 0, this path is giving you a value 0. So which has the lowest distance? This path with 0 has the lowest distance. So we will retain or highlight this path. We'll keep this path and we will neglect this path to this node. So the best path to reach this node is like this, coming from here, whatever path this has followed. Okay. Similarly, here there are two paths ending up at this node. One path has 3, the other path has a distance 2. So you retain the path with distance 2, you cross out the path with higher distance. So like this, we go on computing, neglecting the longer distance path, and in the end you end up with some best path which you receive. It will converge at S0. Then according to this, your received vector will turn out to be 1, 0, 0 rather than 1, 0, 1. So you have some decoding errors. There is a possibility of having something like that. And very often there is a chance that those errors will not exist. Most of the times it won't be existing. Finally, before winding up, we'll see where they are used, the convolutional codes. NASA uses rate half k is equal to 7 convolutional code, and IS 54136 TDMA cellular standard uses rate half k is equal to 6. GSM, CDA, Galileo space probe, most of the space applications will use convolutional codes. So we understood, as a summary, we understood how to write the state diagram trellis and how to determine convolutional code word for the given data bits. We also understood the Viterbi algorithm to decode the convolutional code. And as a whole, in this module, we have understood how to, what are convolutional codes, how to determine code word using time domain approach, transform domain approach, how to design encoding and decoding circuits for convolutional code, and the concept of representing graphical representations like state diagrams, code trees, and trellis. And finally, how to apply Viterbi algorithm for decoding convolutional codes. With this, we are completing this module. If at all you have any queries, please contact me at this mail ID. Thank you.